All right, call to order the meeting this evening. All those present, if you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see you all again. Started, is there an approval of the agenda? Motion to approve the agenda? So roll call vote.
Commissioner Incy.
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson.
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich.
Yeah.
Chairman Urbina.
Yes. Any upcoming commissioner absences? I know Commissioner Wilsey is en route, but sounds like probably a second some traffic. Traffic on that. So yeah, that should. So any upcoming absences? All right. Any communications?
No communications.
Look for approval of the minutes of our February 13th meeting. So move. Second. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Incy.
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson.
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich.
Yeah.
Chairman Urbina.
Yes. Vouchers.
We approve accounts payable vouchers 200-803 for 200-870, payroll vouchers 200-785 for 200-802, ACH payroll transfers and wire transfer fees as outlined in the agenda for a grand total of $2,700,097.10.
Second. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Incy.
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson.
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich.
Yeah.
Chairman Urbina.
Yes. That brings us to our local 33 committee report. President Lowe.
Hi, thanks for letting me talk tonight. I have a 6-slide presentation for you. All right, so you guys are going to be talking about the retiree medical resolution tonight. Can you go back to the beginning?
Oops, why did it do that?
So, slide.
Crystal, how do I do it? Full screen. Blank. Stop the share for just a second. I didn't want your notes up there. Oh, it's can't.
I don't know if I have them.
Okay. Screen share. Retiring medical. No, it's not showing up there. It's just on my screen. Okay. Nope, you're good.
So when we were notified of the potential change to the resolution, we did some background to the resolution. Next slide. All right, so talking to some of the senior folks here at the department, the original intent was to provide the district with budgeting accuracy. Another intent was to motivate some of the senior folks to retire 1 year early and to pass the savings of the cost difference between a senior member versus a new member back to the retiree. And Chief Booth informed us that the benefit initially matched the HRA amount at the time. It hasn't been updated in a while. Next slide. So I decided to just look to see what's out there. Everyone does it like us, which is in resolution in the county. You can see some of the numbers up there. Both Graham and us do it in October for the next year. And the rest of the folks match it to the rate, the retiree rate of the insurance to motivate folks to retire there. Next slide, please. I think the reason why ours is so low is because the trust has done a good job of keeping costs down. According to our trust manager, the retiree rates are at about 10 years ago, in relation to the comps. And the other comparable departments' benefits are high because their retiree costs are high. So that kind of made sense in my head. Next slide. So the thought from us is that we match the benefit amount to the retiree rate, which is currently $5.94. So that would be an increase of $67 per member from the $5.27 current resolution to, like I said, $5.94. I don't know how many folks will be going off of the program next year, so I can't give you like an accurate cost estimate. So I just took kind of a snapshot into what it would cost for the current folks receiving the benefit, which is 18 folks at $67 increase times for the year is $14,472. So any questions?
See X amount of people retiring.
I think we have 4 coming up in 25, but I'm not privy to the info on how many of those 18 folks will be going off onto Medicare in 65. So I couldn't put together, an accurate estimate of what the total cost would be. But that's the idea. Just try to stay consistent with the retiree rate.
Or is there really, we could see longer term projections, what that would cost?
Absolutely. At the time,
Yeah. And obviously, we can't know when everyone's gonna retire, so, but best you could.
yeah. Obviously, I wasn't here when it started, but I think, to do it the right way, we'd have to actually do the actual true cost of what it is for an older employee to leave and for us to hire an onboard new employee and what that actual savings, if any, is. This is one way of doing it. Very basic. Yeah. I think do it right, which is a little bit longer, but we could certainly.
Chairman,
Yes.
over the years, this has been discussed for the few times. And the thing that I always landed on, which convinces me to vote for it every time it's up, is you take an older person, some old guy that's 55 years old. Like your animals. He's more prone to accidents, and that's what one of the cycles, because I think we look at this every 3 years. It convinced me because several years ago I said, I want to know in my mind when somebody comes up to me and says, why are you doing this? This is the reason, and what really stuck with me is an older person is more accident prone, which costs a lot of money. Not that I want to get rid of older people, but I think this is a great plan. I was here when it was first started. And the less older people and new younger people were going to have a whole lot less injuries. That's just a little history.
Being kind of spoken out about this in regards to level 1 and level 2. And, our state can never do anything a good way to either go completely left or completely right. Knee-jerk reaction. This is what they did when they got rid of the one and then left out. I can see where this can be a benefit to the 2 people that are going down. So what Tom says on 50. The benefit, I can see the benefit of this. It's been this way for, the cost has been that since almost incept of that, isn't it? I don't think
We brought it in, I'm not sure, probably 2010 or something, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure you changed it, so on there. So I could see the positive of doing this if it fits, obviously if it fits in with our budget. But I think it's only fair. I really myself I really believe that that's really gonna take all that down from the state. It's the way, a little bit that we can do to kind of help a little bit.
I interject just a little bit? So I totally appreciate Jake brought this to me originally, and I said this was a board policy, and so he's followed, done everything. I totally get coming at this time. I do want to kind of, uncouple it from our resolution tonight, because all tonight is changing the date and making it a little bit earlier to help us plan budget. The resolution says that the retiree medical program will be evaluated periodically. A 3-year review is recommended, and we did one 2 years ago. So I think we need a little bit more time to evaluate this. Our finance administration staff is up to here right now, and you're going to hear some tonight about what's going on. So we can do that evaluation. If you want it, we will do it, but I would like a little bit more time, like literally 6 to 9 more months later in this year. If you want me to move it up, I can, but we'll have to discuss what we're not going to do, because this was not in our work plan this year to evaluate until later. Completely get it, completely support it. I hope we can uncouple it from tonight's resolution and not slow that down. Give us some time to evaluate it, bring you an entire evaluation of cost, the benefits, the later.
When you're doing that, can you also kind of look at where the ages of our people, how many are close to that 53? And just seeing if there's going to be a time to where we may get hit hard if they take that and go out at that 50 that we have there, and then 55, I guess.
Yeah, so this is I'd rather do kind of a step back rather than just narrowly focusing on increasing the amount. Let's look at the entire program, look at the cost of the entire program, the cost benefit analysis of the program as people leave, the age of our workforce, and do a little bit more of an analysis on that. But that's going to take us a little bit of time. So if that's agreeable to you, I don't know what time frame to put on it.
2024.
President Blake, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, it wasn't our intent for it to occur this year or to slow anything down or oppose any of the change from October to August.
Yeah, I would say I don't view Jake's presentation as mutually exclusive from the resolution tonight. I think that it sort of is like, hey, the resolution tonight stands on its own, and then just look at, are there ways to potentially amend it going forward? And Kevin said 55 about first 2 hours, like they're at 65.
Are you saying, no, first?
It's 65 for first 2.
Yeah.
Being a first 2 employee, I know quite well.
I just said
62 actually, if you retire early and don't.
I never dealt with first.
Yes, you have not.
Yeah, so I really appreciate President Frick bringing it. He talked to me about it. This is a good time to start the discussion. And like I said, he supported the change, and I just didn't want to slow down tonight and get it confused. And yes, we do need to do an evaluation, but we need a little more time. That's right. It's gonna be a big endeavor, and we're.
The only question I have is, folks that are retiring, let's just say this year. This doesn't necessarily have any retroactivity or anything that would decrease their benefit. If we do approve this later on this year, say towards the end of this year, those folks, their payments increase. Everybody on the program, the payment increases, right? It's not just the people that are going off between after we approve it and going forward. I'm just seeing what are the impacts by waiting till the end of the year. So.
I think as written right here, it says that the benefits approved at the time of their retirement are the ones that they continue to receive.
Okay.
So it would affect these four, if you made a decision today, that they would get more, if we wait until next year. But then there'll be four more next year and four more.
Right. I don't think we have the information to make a decision to change the benefit today. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that we will never change the benefit. So, yeah.
So I think I understood the proposal a little differently. That everyone receiving the benefit would get an increase. Is what the union is asking. Is that correct, President Flynn?
Yeah, so the proposal would be later when we figure out if it's okay to increase the benefit that those 18 folks are receiving from the 527 to the retiree rate.
Just want to make sure everyone
So,
understood.
yeah, with that clarification, that, we have to make that decision, so we'll put them both together, how about that?
No, it's.
I'm kind of reading Jay's proposal as like first read.
Yeah.
First read.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Get it on
I'm
the-
not trying to,
No, I'm not taking it.
yeah,
I-
even in the proposal, it said
Yeah.
25.
Yeah. It's like when we do a first read, we're not gonna take action on it tonight. We'll take action on it.
I think President Flick's just highlighting it and bringing it to our attention, and we'll work on it.
Anything else, President Flynn?
No, thank you for letting me speak.
Just keep in mind though, that according to those numbers I saw up there, even at another $67 a month, we're still getting pretty good bang for our buck.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what was it, Central's paying 1,000, whatever, 98, some crazy number, so.
But I think that is a function of the trust.
That's what I tried to illustrate there. It's like, they're 10 years back in comparable numbers.
More employees putting in to that, fair to say, I mean, that's, yeah.
Thank you, President Flynn.
Thank you.
All right, that gets us to standing committee reports. No, it doesn't. Chief's reports.
All right, later, Chief Johnson has a bond update. Before then, he was duty chief this last week. Just gonna give you an update on some events that happened.
So I was duty chief for last week and a few days previous. It was more of an eventful week than you've probably experienced in a little while. First one, I got a phone call late at night from the DC that he was going to South Kitsap. South Kitsap had a 3-alarm storage unit fire. So emptied Kitsap County, we started sending units. We wound up sending 2 engines, medic unit and DC. And a division chief went to scene as well. We staffed Station 31 with our DC and engine and medic unit. They ran a couple calls. So that's kind of out of the norm for us. A 3-alarm fire, it's an out of the norm thing. And then BC Langwell came back and ran the district, thankfully, and took it from me and did everything good. So that was the first one. And then on Friday, kind of another out of the ordinary event, we had a rope rescue off of Route. So a gentleman was stuck over the bank on a pulley system, and we followed our plan and called our mutual aid partners and had a whole bunch of people show up. Thank you for Tacoma. Tacoma happened to be having their team do a drill, and they actually had people over the bank. Had to bring them up, put their gear away, and we got the ladder, the engine, the DC, and the rescue. So lots of people made short work of the call and picked everything back up, and everybody went home happy. So those are kind of the highlights of last week. Yep.
I read that, when I was reading it, it said that the guy's pulley system failed or something. Did the land give way from him, or or not have a pulley set up right, or what?
He bought a electric wired pulley, and it failed when he was down there and could not come up, which was the short distance up, was 40 to 50 feet. And he did not want to go down because it's another 100 to 150 down. He did not want gravity to help him at this point. He he wanted to stay right where he was, and what he had was holding him right where he was and moving down. That's the short of it, so. Any other questions?
All on a cell phone or something? Or do you have somebody on top?
There were two people on top that made the phone call for him when said electric winch ceased to work to bring him back up.
All right, Chief Oldenburg.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'll give you a quick update on finance and admin. Three primary areas are the softwares that we're integrating right now. So if you remember correctly, we started a number of weeks ago implementing a new finance software, a new payroll software, and a new HR software all at the same time. So we selected two vendors to do that. UKG are doing the HR and the payroll. Tyler Technologies are doing the finance software. So the finance software is going great. The HR software is going great. And I think UKG is having some challenges with delivering on their presentation. Now that we're in configuration, we saw a product, we purchased the product. Now that we're configuring it, it seems that we may not be able to do some of those things that they asserted during the presentation. So we had a meeting today. We are going to pause that implementation for the payroll software briefly. We're going to do some additional evaluation and discussion with Tyler Technologies as well as UKG. And we will make a new decision or continue on the path that we're on here shortly. But we are not satisfied with the interactions we're having with UKG on a number of areas. And so I do not want to continue forward with something that may not be in our best interest long term. So being just at the beginning of this, I want to make sure we get it right. So 2 of the 3 are working out great, but we're gonna slow it down just a little bit and make sure that we get what we asked for at the end of the day. That's all I have.
Set dimensions.
It's Dimensions is their higher, more enterprise version, but it is almost the same, right? Just a smaller version.
The umbrella.
So
All right, Chief Meyer.
Good evening. Just want to give you a few updates concerning operations. Just want to let you know that I'm going to be meeting with Gilbert PD, Fish County Sheriff, and Keep Peninsula on the 21st of March concerning Asher training and what we're going to do if we have one of those incidents. So we're going to be doing that and meeting with those different entities. Also, too, USAR at FEMA Task Force, we are going to be going through a process for that. We got applications for up to 3 positions, and we're going to be doing interviews starting the week of the 11th of March. I add hopefully 2 to 3 new Gig Harbor firefighters to USAR Task Force. So that's happening. Yet today, I met with the ops chiefs from Kitsap County, South Kitsap, talking about the CAD program. Some of the operational things that we want to identify, station ordering, response packages. So went up there this morning and had a good meeting with the ops chief, the division chief, and deputy chief of operations from South Kitsap. We talked about things about station ordering, response packages, and it was a good conversation to have with them when this goes live, how we're going to operate. And then lastly, I just want to say thank you to logistics and the training division. Our SCBAs, our new Scott SCBAs went into service yesterday, and just an outstanding effort for bringing our department into these new products, and hopefully they'll be a good product for the next 10 years for us. So I just wanted to say thank you from operations to the rest of the organization for making that happen. They were all in service yesterday. So unless there's any questions, that's the end of my report.
How many was it?
I think close to probably 100. Yeah. So training division, and then there's cash for repairs, and then each of our units.
5,500 for 40.
All right, to go along with Chief Meyer's CAD update, Southside 911 has completed all the configurations, but the Kitsap dispatch lost their director and there's been some slowdown there to fully integrate. This was supposed to happen months ago, and then it was supposed to happen in January, and then Kitsap dispatch lost their director. So we're working through it, but hopefully we'll have this CAD integration complete soon. Just to update, you've probably seen it in the news or around about the county shrinking the UGA for everywhere in the county. Some of the cities are shrinking. Part of ours will be Purdy. County Council member Denson called and talked to us about if we had any concerns, and we don't. We have a great relationship with the county fire marshal. We discussed it with the county chiefs. And together, so sometimes some of the contractors are trying to get different chiefs to oppose this, and we want to be unified as a county. So we are going to remain neutral or supportive of whatever the cities want to do. We don't see a big problem. But in case you hear about that, Taiwan is sending a delegation here to visit us, firefighters on March 13th. So Chief Westcott is working on that, and we'll let you know the time and the place. But these firefighters want to see some of our EMS and our rescue capabilities. We're trying to show off our city a little bit, give them the red carpet treatment on March 13th. Last but not least is giving you updates on some frustrations we've had with EMS and the division of EMS. Well, it's happening again. Try to make it as short as possible, but it's on our recertification of our paramedics. And as a county, we talked about it at the chiefs meeting of what we're going to do with the continued frustration we have with county EMS. And our plan so far is, as chiefs, we are going to meet with the two county exec candidates to talk to them about our frustrations with DEM and radios, the EMS, and Department of Emergency Management, the two people that are running. So that we don't wait until somebody gets in office and then go about the problems. We want to talk about it now. I know the union is going to get involved a little bit with the elections too, but in essence, our paramedics now on overtime need to go to DEM and reschedule an entire protocol test rather than doing their quarterly tests, and it's quite frustrating. It's like the checkoff sheet last time. DEM or the EMS director is right that we didn't do our protocol tests on a quarterly basis, but we did 13 in a year and a half, and they checked us off for 7 years. All of a sudden, at the last minute, oh, it's not good enough this time. So it's quite frustrating, but we have a long-term plan. Aware that our frustrations. That's all I have for updates.
Dr. Waffle or Waddle?
Waffle and on the pancake.
What?
Thank you, Chief. Any standing committee reports? I don't have a chairman's report for this evening, so I guess it's to the bond update.
All right, good evening again. 5357 continues to move forward. I had a meeting with the contractor on Monday. He provided me a schedule, and he is looking to start March 11th. Some highlights of the schedule: start March 11th, be done with 53 in August, with 57, and there's an overlap in there, and be done with 57 before Thanksgiving. So more than meetings, a 300-day that's in the contract, and they are ready to get to work. So he didn't request any other walkthroughs between now and then. On that front, he has provided all of the required, different bonds, the insurance coverage, the contract, all the required documents. Those I sent to, Eric Quinn today. Eric got some, said he would let me know by the end of the week, which is fine. Once I get the okay from Eric, the only thing I need to do is provide the contractor with a basically a statement to go ahead and proceed. And I don't see any problems. We've looked over them. We've had our consultant look at them. There's no issues. So as long as we move forward, I will be meeting him at 53 with his crew on the and the stations, thanks to logistics, the stations are cleared out and they're ready for him to come in. They'll be checking that this week, actually tomorrow. Train campus appears we got everything pretty much straight. We're just waiting for a maintenance plan and an agreement for the pond that we have to fill partially and then line. And then we're having they are having a meeting this week to kind of coordinate those things and making sure that we move forward. We appear to still be on track to go out to bid in March for the training campus. Last Friday, I met with City of Gig Harbor Water and straightened out some issues. I have some more work on my end to do with the domestic water supply for the support building, and then some hydrant issues. We're in the county. The water system is owned by the city, so it's that coordination between those two and who's going to do the inspection. I think you got it all worked out. Just it's continuous work, so it's okay. We'll get there. 51, there was a very brief interiors meeting, and it was just the interior designer giving us some stuff to look at and some thoughts. I continue to work with Penn Light at 51 to make sure that we're in line once we start construction, that the transformer will be removed and then the power across the underground is removed, because we're clearing the entire site and moving those things. So we've already paid for the engineering fee. It's just a matter of walking the site with the engineer and getting that process done. When I met with the city about the water for the training campus, they also had some questions about Station 51. History-wise, Station 51 was built in the mid-70s. The city of Gig Harbor has no record of how our hydrants or the building is tied to the city system. So as best I could, with the plans that I have from the mid-70s, and then the updates, in 90 or 2000, we figured a couple things out, but we'll know more once we clear the site. So they're more than happy with what they have, and in essence, I told him the timeline where 51 will probably go to bid or start, go to bid between January and March of next year. It depends on how quickly it'll move through the city. And then once we clear the site, the hydrants have to be replaced anyway because they leak like crazy. And at that point, we're gonna, as we dig down to replace the hydrant, we're gonna find where the piping goes. So it's all a process, and the city of Gig Harbor is fine with that process.
Before we move on Station 51, could we in the next couple meetings maybe bring an update of the design and where we're at with the board, so that they can see that and give some feedback?
You bet. Other projects, Station 50, it'll come up here in just a little bit. The award for the architect assistance with 50 is coming up here later in the meeting. We've just had some discussions taking place. With 50 kind of being a priority, we've backed down and away from logistics a little bit, so that's kind of on hold. Because we need to get this building done so we can get back in. That's pretty much all of the projects currently that are going on. Are there any questions for me?
Too bad somebody owns the guys from the city, maintenance for the
Public Works, yeah.
public works, Malich or Dave, whatever, they
Right.
can tell you probably exactly where the pipes go.
Right, and we're, like I said, we found one. I'm still digging through some files historically. I just received some files a couple weeks ago. And in those files are pictures of purchasing the land from the State Department of Transportation, and Kimball Drive is woods. Like, the only thing in the picture recognizable is Stroh's and a 2-lane highway. So we got history. I just haven't dug through all of it to see if there's anything else buried in there. Thank you.
No old business, that brings us to new business. Item A, resolution 2024-02.
Good evening. Included in the packet is the resolution. We talked about it earlier. Really, the only thing that's being changed in this resolution is one word. We used to say, if you look on the first page, page 23 in the packet, 2/3 of the way down, the bullet point starts with employees. It says employees wishing to retire must notify the district by. That used to say October 1st. Now it's requesting August 1st. And that's the only change to the entire document. So what we're looking for here is twofold. October 1st didn't give us a lot of reaction time to build these costs and expenses into our budget. Employees that leave Gig Harbor usually have historic large balances of benefits, accrued benefits that have payout dollar values, and we would like to build those into the budget because they have an impact. So that's the first part. October didn't, although it's in the budget build timeline, didn't quite give us a lot of flexibility because we start building the budget in like June. Okay. The second piece is the flexibility with getting them here. Like if we don't know till October, then that's when we put out a job announcement. That's when we have it open for a number of weeks. That's when we start the process of selecting individuals. By the time we do all of that, get them hired, selected, and recruit them, we have to find a recruit academy, get them trained, get them out on the line. We're missing that window of when the employees were leaving. And we aren't making that direct offset of when somebody's leaving and somebody's coming in to fill their vacancy and they don't align. So then we're constant staffing and paying a lot of money to fill that. So all we're asking for those couple of reasons primarily is a little bit more reaction time on the front end so that we can get active employees here through the process and working as close as we can to the time frame when the other employees will be leaving. And we just didn't quite have that lined up to maximize that benefit previously. So that's what we're asking if this is a little bit more time frame. And that's all that I have. I'll send questions.
Questions?
I'll move that we approve resolution 2024-.
Second. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Incy,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich.
Yep.
Commissioner Wilsey,
Yes.
Chairman Urbina.
It's us to item B, Station 50 request for qualifications. Johnson.
Good evening again. So in January, as we had the flooding occur at 5.0 in November, we knew we were gonna have to do some repairs, rebuild. Took a look at what we had previously had established as architectural services. When I looked at it, the capital facilities plan really didn't have 5.0 listed in there because we weren't planning to do anything. Well, because of that, the safest route to go was to go back out for a request for qualifications for calling out work that we need to do at 5.0. So that was done in January, advertised twice in the appropriate journals, asking for, it was very specific, 12 pages, send me your qualifications, your experience, those things. Included in the fact it was a rating system on what you would be rated on. When that closed, I had 5 firms had submitted some qualifications. As I said, in that packet is a scoring criteria. We had 3 people score it. The scores are the scores. Out of the 5, Bryce Fergus Miller was the high and the #1 choice. So tonight I'm just looking to get an approval to engage with Rice Fergus Miller for architectural services for Station 50 and anything happening in the next year or so, moving forward if we encounter another issue.
Could I, piggyback on what you just said? Last meeting, I addressed this a little bit. Reasons we have to have an architect. If it was a matter of some sheet rock, a little carpeting, a little tile, we wouldn't need an architect, but you're talking structural and everything else, and maybe, hopefully, moving some things around. So that's the reason an architect would be involved. So, thank you.
Questions?
I'd like to make a motion that we retain Rice Fergus Miller, Station 50, and any other possible issues that may arise.
All set. Chief Johnson, does that meet your need?
Yep, it does.
Roll call vote?
Commissioner Incy,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilsey,
Yes.
Chairman Urbina.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Johnson. That gets us to resolution 2024-03, EMS membership program.
So we have two things that are included in tonight's packet for action. We are currently in the middle of transitioning our vendor for our transport billing. So currently we use the vendor EF Recovery, and we are moving to System Sidewest. And as part of that review and transition, we did need to do some administrative cleanup both to our EMS membership subscription program and to our medical billing policy. So tonight, there are two things. One, resolution 2024-03. This is the acting resolution that authorizes residents to have their portion of their medical bill for a transport waived under the residency requirement. So the current resolution in the packet on page 25 does not change any of the program provisions that are currently available to residents. What this one revision does have is the removal of an administrative piece of paper that requires them to have a physical signature affirming that they are a resident. So that piece is not required, and we did include some other internal controls and provisions within our review of the medical record and with our billing vendor to remove that requirement. So the resolution included in the packet is exactly the same as it currently is for our residents, where the levy waiver reduces their proportionate share. So after insurance pays their share, the resident does not pay anything outside of that, outside of their insurance coverage. And yeah, so administratively, the section, everything is exactly the same except for section 2 that removes that provision.
Who made sure that the party that was billed after either insurance paid or Medicare or Medicaid paid, the people doing it, do they understand it, that they don't send a bill to the party saying this is what's owed after this party, the bill's $300, insurance paid $200, or $100. So some way that's, so they don't get that bill thinking that they paid it, that they have to hold that.
Yes. Currently, our current vendor does it a little bit differently, but in terms of our new vendor that starts on Monday, there is an internal review process where our frontline personnel are also confirming residency. We have something in our patient record to validate that. We also will internally validate residency requirements before we send it to the vendor. And then if for whatever reason, let's say the resident box isn't checked and the resident does receive a bill that says I am a resident, has an applicable zip code, then they would just make those adjustments with that affirmation.
And if the patient had no insurance period at all, the entire amount would be waived.
Correct. And that is, that language is more clear in this current provision.
Several years ago, we had an issue that time, the editor of the Gateway lived in Key Peninsula. And he was in Gig Harbor, had a medical situation, was transported to the hospital. He got billed, and rightfully so. And he climbed up and down John Burgess in my frame, just ranting and raving on how he didn't appreciate this, but we told him, hey, our citizens are paying for this service, not you. So I think it's a good deal.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll move that we approve resolution 2024-03.
Roll call vote?
Commissioner Incy,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich, Commissioner Wilsey,
Yes.
Chairman Urbina.
Yes.
Okay, included in tonight's packet is a copy of Resolution 2024-04. This includes a new adoption of a medical billing policy, 6000.3. This policy, while is new in documentation, is not new in practice. One of the things that came out of our accountability audit with the State Auditor's Office last summer was our lack of formalized documentation associated with our medical billing policy. It's the pieces that we handle, the pieces that our third party handles, applicable timelines, and our documentation associated with uncollectible accounts, write-offs, the charity policy, and then our waiver policy. So this policy, from an operational standpoint, isn't different from our current practice and operation. The only item that I will note that is new to our current practice, it does formalize a charity policy. There is some history that we may have had one previously, but there wasn't anything formally documented. So the State Auditor's Office recommended that if we did choose to have a charity policy, where we did have an opportunity to write off a specific account for a certain reason, that it needs to be documented in our policy. So in this policy, there is a section for charity. The policy aligns with the state WAC in terms of the federal poverty rates that are listed within that. And then it also speaks to the appeal requirements that are listed in the RCW. I did speak with our billing vendor. They have not received to date a request for any write-off or waiving of any of their accounts through the history that we've had with the recovery. So I don't anticipate that this would be widely used, but it would be available if someone needed it, and we would have that documentation on file.
This would be somebody that's outside the district.
Correct. Yes, residents are already under the residency levy waiver. This would be potential tourism that are coming in and being transported, or someone that would live outside the district.
Any questions? Is there a motion to approve resolution 2024-04?
I'll move that we approve resolution 2024.
Second. Roll call vote?
Commissioner Incy,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich, Commissioner Wilsey,
Yes.
Chairman Urbina.
Yes. I'll bring this to open public comment. Please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. Is there anybody online? A hand up? Not seeing any hands. Thank you. That gets us to go to the order.
I have some good in the order. I have some pins to hand out for years of service to 2 commissioners. First, Commissioner Wilsey for being a commissioner for 5 years. This month, just want to say thank you for your service. For 10 years. Wow.
Thank you for all you've done for the district.
Yeah.
Anything else to go to the order? Any special interest, upcoming events? You know? Seeing none, that brings us to our next item, which will be an executive session pursuant to RCW 42.40.110.1G to review the performance of a public employee. That will be for 15 minutes. We'll come back into order at 6:05. At that point, no action will be taken further in the meeting.
Oh.
All right, thank you. Welcome everybody back. So we'll adjourn the meeting. Our next regular meeting will be March